Well, it's that time of year again, guys. It's time for the summer. And one of my favorite things to do during the summer is go back and rewatch a lot of summer-themed episodes of shows from my youth. One of my personal favorites, that I will explain as to why, is Ed, Edd, and Eddy's Hot Buttered Ed. Now, let me take you back in time with me to a personal memory. Many years ago, I want to say this was maybe either 2005 or 2006 in the summer. I was on vacation with my family, and we were at some resort where they had a beach nearby. I believe we were in Florida, and we went to the beach, right? And we had fun, swimming and doing all the beach things that you would do. And I came back, and I remember I wore sunscreen, but I guess the type I wore wasn't enough, so I came back really sunburned, and I had to put on aloe vera. Now, when I came back to the resort place that we were, we turned on Cartoon Network. And on Cartoon Network, literally at that moment, was actually not even this episode of Hot Buttered Ed. It was actually the episode of the Powerpuff Girls, and I want to say it was season 4. It's that episode where the 3 girls get sunburned and they're still having to fight crime and things like that. That episode was on. And I actually really resonated with that episode also, because there's something incredible about the relation you can get to these characters in these shows, because as a kid, having just coming back from the beach and you're sunburned, having to put on aloe vera, and then you're watching your cartoons and they're having very similar issues to you. There's something about that just resonates with you, especially at that age of a kid that you are. But after that episode ended, Hot Buttered Ed came on. And Ed, Edd, and Eddy, when I was a kid, was one of my favorite shows. So to see my, favorite characters going on this beach adventure and having this, fight against their perfect spot, and then at the end they end up getting this terrible bad sunburn, was just an unforgettable memory to me, just watching this episode at this specific moment in time and having that relation and having your parents make you pizza and watching this episode while being sunburned and eating pizza. It was just an unforgettable memory to me. So because it's summertime, I thought it would be no better moment to go back and look over this episode and just see how awesome this episode was. So, join me in going back through and watching Hot Buttered Ed.
Ed, quit hogging him, Ed!
Say pretty please, Eddy!
In your dreams!
Say pretty please, 2 eggs and a slice of bacon!
Give me the chips!
Do you mind? I'm trying to read!
Wait for the movie, Double D! Come on, Ed! I'm starving!
So I love how we start off with the Eds kind of in this camp. Not camp, but they're camping outside one of their houses together because they have something to do the next morning. This is also very relatable to me because I did this a lot when I was a kid. If ever I was going somewhere with a friend or a friend's family, I would do this often. We would spend the night at each other's houses and would wake up early because we had something to go do. So I really like this moment in this episode in particular as well, because I think it's very relatable. But I also love this joke here about Double D's trying to read a book, and Eddy says, "Just wait for the movie, Double D." And as a kid, that was funny, but as a kid, you didn't really, when you saw movies, you didn't necessarily know that they were based off of books. But now that I'm older, and there's tons of superhero movies coming out these days, and tons of, other movies that are remakes of movies that were based on books, or, new movies that are based on books, and there's so many new books that are being written and movies being made about them these days, that this joke just, when I was rewatching this episode, it just hits so much harder for me. So I think that was just an incredible joke.
Go look at this now! Dried potatoes that may contain dextrose, salt, and saturated fats all over my sleeping bag!
Double D made a mess in his sleeping bag, Ed!
Hey, let's pick a pie and hit me with it!
what I love about this joke is that I believe it's a, they're obviously kids, and I believe it's a sex joke. But what's funny about this is that Eddy gets it, and he's trying to share his humor with it to Ed, and Ed laughs, but you can tell that the joke went completely over Ed's head, which is very funny, because similarly to how it went over Ed's head, it went over all of our heads when we were younger too. So I just think that was a really funny touch to just add that Ed was laughing about it, but he really didn't completely understand the joke, which is what we do as kids all the time. When we go to see movies with our parents and our families, we'll watch a movie and they'll say a joke, but we won't understand the joke at all. But we'll laugh because we thought it was funny, and all the other kids and all the other people in the movie theaters are laughing, so we'll thought it was funny, but we'll never know.
Wake up! We slept in!
Slept in? Oh dear, I've never slept in. I've blemished my personal resume.
So the Eds end up waking up really late because they were just having fun, being guys, hanging out with each other all night, and doing stupid stuff. So they end up waking up really late, and they try to make it to the beach on time to get their favorite spot, and they almost make it in time, but of course, Kevin has to make it there just before they do and steal their spot. So, what the Eds decide to do is they're, throughout the entire episode, mostly just trying to get their spot back. They go to all these different lengths to do it. They try to find another spot that they feel might be good, and it just is awful. There's trash everywhere, and but as we'll see here in a moment, the Eds end up trying to spy on Kevin to see if and when he'll move, but that doesn't entirely work out the way they think. So let's keep watching.
Hey, Judy, look, it's pretty. Careful. What? What are you doing? Do not ask Ralph to stop.
This is, I think, every time I watch this episode and these scenes go on of them them being in the pool, it really makes me just want to call up a bunch of my friends, just be like, hey dude, let's go to the beach, or let's go. It really makes you want to just go out and have fun with friends. I really love watching these scenes because they just bring back memories of nostalgia of me being with my friends in this type of scenario and setting and doing very similar things. I think that this episode does a great job of bringing those memories for me back and making me want to do these kinds of things again.
Boy, is it hot.
Come on, let's get out of here.
Oh dear, it can't be. I've forgotten my sunscreen. I'm so vulnerable. I can feel my flesh tighten, the stinging of the ultraviolet rays.
So, I love how Double D just has to forget the sunscreen because, that's what happens in these kinds of stories. One of the main characters, of course, on the adventure that they're going on, has to forget one of the necessary items, or not maybe necessary, but one of the items that's going to help them best enjoy that adventure. Of course, one of the characters has to forget. But I think, for me, this was very relatable because watching the Eds go through this experience of not having sunscreen while at the beach is very relatable to me because when I was a kid, I don't know if it was because I guess I was very rebellious or something, but I just never liked wearing sunscreen, and every time my parents asked me if I had it on, I would lie and say that I did. And so to watch the characters go through this, I think is it's just flashing back to all the times that I had to go through this. So I'm excited to see how our Eds deal with this situation.
Unicorns are my specialty.
Oh, look at me! Giddy up, you dead horse!
No, Ed, unicorns are sensitive.
Pish off!
My tummy! I feel queasy. Put him down!
So while I was actually doing research on this episode, I was looking on the wiki, and they pointed out that in this scene, we see Sarah inside of her regular pink shirt that she wears every other episode, while in other shots we see her wearing an original swimsuit for this episode. So it's some type of an animation error and a cool fun fact.
I did a force splasher! A new Splish Splash record!
Look out! I can beat your stupid record! Gases! Excuse me, Jimmy. You wouldn't happen to have any more sunscreen, would you?
So, something I've never noticed before, actually watching this episode in particular, is the way that the characters' feet look in this show. Not that I've really cared before, but normally they wear shoes, so you never really get to see their feet. But here, why do their feet look like chicken legs? Like, they look so weird to me. Like, they look like, it almost looks like their legs are broken. Like, I don't know why they were drawn this way. Like, there's some close-up shots where they look normal, but here it just looks like a stick with, like, it looks like a cactus. Like, it looks so awkward. So, I don't know. It's very strange, and I've never noticed it before.
Ooh, that worked nicely.
Double D! Check it out! Oh, our spot's empty! Quick, let's grab it before...
I get that.
I love this shot. And I love this shot because it's a true animator's expression. Because they're trying to convey that Eddy is clearly mad. And I love that he's so mad. He is exfuming so much heat from him being angry that just this little puddle that's around him, because we can see that the rest of the water is not fuming, but just this little puddle around him is reaching the boiling point. Like, that's how hot it's getting. He's getting so mad that the water he's in, that little space around him, is reaching that boiling point. And I love how the animators decided to add this in, because I feel it just adds so much. They really didn't have to. They could have just shown a random thing of Eddy just being mad. But they decided to make the water around him start bubbling and boiling, reaching that boiling point to really convey and really push and show that Eddy is super mad. And I think it's fantastic.
Yap, yap, yap.
Look! It's an eclipse of the sun!
That's Johnny's head, Double D.
What's he doing up there? Hey, check it out! If we had Johnny's spot, we could keep an eye on my spot.
At that elevation, it must have a cooling cross breeze, perhaps even shade.
Okay, Double D. You had me at the, it's at a higher elevated point. It probably does have a pretty good breeze. But, Double D, I thought you were the smart one of the three. Look up there. How is something that is elevated so high with nothing above it but the sun and sky itself have shade? Tell me that one, Double D.
Let's see. What do we use to get Melonhead off his perch? Explosives? Nah. A giant slingshot? Nope. A trapeze? Double D, that's it!
So this is another animation fun fact. Apparently, this shot here of Eddy riding Ed like a camel was actually an animation, I don't know about mistake, but an animation miscommunication. When this scene was storyboarded, Ed was not shaped or meant to look like a camel. Eddy was just riding Ed just because. But when this was sent over to Korea and the Korean animators were doing their job, they assumed that perhaps there was a joke here, and the joke was that Eddy was riding Ed and Ed was supposed to look like a camel. So they animated the scene and they sent it back, and Danny Antonucci thought that it was so funny and thought it was a very awkward and weird looking scene, and he loved it so much he decided to keep it in. So that's a very fun, very interesting fact there too.
Pass me the trapeze, Ed.
What?
What's Sockhead doing?
I'm ready, Coach! the team plank.
Double D! That was pure genius!
I love moments like this in the show. You don't get to see it often. Double D as a character is very calm, very refrained, he doesn't really like to get out of his little bubble. He just likes to stay in there because he's comfortable and he likes it and it's great for him. But you do see these moments every now and again throughout the show where Double D just kind of breaks. It doesn't break where he starts freaking out, but he just breaks into this point where he doesn't care. He is tired. He's ready to just let's get this over with. Let's do it. Let's do this. Because Eddy and Ed have their own idea of how they're gonna move Johnny from this spot, and Double D thinks it's dumb. He thinks it's stupid, and he knows it's not gonna work. So instead of telling them it's not gonna work when they're about to do their plan, he just walks past them and does his own plan. And it works. And he just doesn't say a word. His face is just as straight as can be. And he just does it and it works. Now, how it worked, I don't know. He just blows a whistle and Johnny thinks that it's his coach. How Double D knew this, I don't know. How Johnny would have thought it was his coach, I don't know. Maybe he was having a dream. It's very weird, but I like to see scenes like this.
The sound of a babbling brook makes me want to babble, Double D.
Was that Johnny's sunscreen?
So again, I love this reaction we get from Double D. It's again one of these just moments from the character we never really get to see. It's Double D just, again, pile after pile after pile. Things are happening. Things are happening to him on this day, and he's just so done with today. You know, this could have been easily another moment where Double D had one of his famous freakouts, you know, where he starts calling Ed a nincompoop and starts raising his voice to the top of his lungs. But no, what does he do instead? He chooses to take this stance of he's just annoyed and he's just done and through. Was that Johnny's sunscreen? Like, it's just, again, like something else. Like, what else is gonna happen today? Like, I love that we never get to see this side of the character. And this is just one of those rare instances where we really get to see this just annoyed side of the character. It's great, and I love it. They could have easily gone that pissed off route that he gets sometimes, but I love that they took this route instead. It was a great direction.
See ya, Kevin!
Kevin, leave? Woohoo! Took him long enough, slug.
Assistance, please. Assistance.
What's with you?
So, this scene, I own this scene. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is probably one of the cooler things that I own. This is a official animation art cell of, clearly, this scene. It's really cool. I can even go here and I can remove layers from this if I want to. Eddy, I could take him away from the scene if I wanted to. I could take Ed, Double D, they're all layers on this. And this is seriously one of the coolest things that I own. And yeah, I get to say that I own this scene. How cool, right?
Welcome to the great outdoors, nature boy. What a whiner.
I think it's very weird that, like, I get the joke, but I think it's very weird that he had just had his hand here the whole time they were up there. Unless maybe we were expected to believe maybe that they took a nap and he fell asleep and just he was on this one side the whole time and his hand was here. Maybe, or I don't know what it was, but we just saw them moments before, you know, moving around. So maybe they just woke up? I'm not entirely too sure here, but that's very strange.
I have changed colors! I have become Chameleon Man! Oink!
Stay back! Ouch!
Oink!
Ouch! Eddie, make him stop!
Cut it out! Oink! Ow! You can be my sidekick, Frog Mouth Kid! And Double D is our butler! Double D! Oink!
Ow!
Oink! 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 Oink!
So the episode ends with the Edds having their sunburn, and Ed being that one annoying friend that we all had, whether it was the friend, the brother, the sister, whatever it was, that thought it was absolutely hilarious to poke and mess with our sunburns. And we can just watch this and totally relate to the characters on the screen, knowing how painful it is and how annoying it is and how awful that just whole experience is. We all had that happen to us, so it's very relatable. But that's where I'm going to end today. This is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite Ed, Edd, and Eddy episode. Whether I'd say it's the best, I'm not sure. I like to be able to say that I can make the distinction between something being my favorite episode and something being the best episode. I think that they are different. You can have the best episode be your favorite, but it's not often that happens. Usually something that's the best I don't really find as my favorite, but I'm able to recognize that it's the best. I think that this episode, though, does give you a good idea of what the Edds are about if you've never seen the show before. You know, what people like about Ed, Edd, and Eddy is it's a show about three friends that hang out and get into trouble together, and, you know, they do bad things, but you see bad things happen to them at the end as a result of it. So, in a way, it's teaching them a lesson, like, you shouldn't have done this. So, I think that this is a very good Ed, Edd, and Eddy episode, and it's one of my favorites. What is y'all's favorite Ed, Edd, and Eddy episode? Be sure to list them down below. What's y'all's favorite summer-themed episode? There was a lot that came out around this time. And it can be from Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney, anything y'all would like to. Go ahead and comment down below. Let me know, and let's have this nostalgic conversation together. Anyways, guys, until next time, I will see you guys later.